Today on Locked On Rockies, it is time. Spring is here. The pitchers and catchers have reported. Let's take a look at some of the storylines in spring to look out for, starting with the starting rotation.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 15th day of February in the year 2024. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day is talk Rockies baseball here on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show with your hot takes, whatever's on your mind. Let me know what's going on in terms of your Rockies fandom. I'm Paul Holden, your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast. Been doing this show for almost 4 seasons now and been bringing you daily Rockies, or I've been following this team my entire life. So we are going to talk about the rotation today. We're going to talk a little bit about spring today. A little bit of housekeeping stuff when it comes to knowing your spring, your streaming abilities, all that good stuff. And we're going to give our shout outs to Jenny Kavnar as well, because we didn't do that after the news was announced. That's a change heading to the broadcast team as well. So we're getting into all of that and more today. Before we dive into everything, just want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. All right, so pitchers, catchers, I would say that it's no big surprise. I think that most people, when they're talking about it, as we've been going through fan reactions this week, and you guys have been inputting and letting me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Rockies, the rotation is going to be at the top of everyone's mind. There's a lot of people that are going to sit here and look at this rotation and not be impressed. Well, unfortunately, that's not too big of a surprise. This team starters are, need to prove themselves. I think mostly like that, and that includes a little bit of Kyle Freeland as well. That includes Austin Gomber being able to be consistent and step up as well with that, because when you really look at a lot of the advanced metrics for Rocky starters, it's really in a tough spot. The biggest concern for the Rockies rotation as they go into spring, and something I hope that we can see, I don't know how much they'll really be able to dive into it or how much we'll be able to see it in spring, but right now, the Rockies starters have a massive strikeout problem here. And we knew this. This isn't anything new. This isn't something that you can sit. That isn't going to catch you necessarily off guard by any stretch of the imagination. But even with the new additions, and even with your two stalwart players as well in Kyle Freeland and Austin Gomber, stalwart meaning the ones that have been in the rotation for a bit. It's kind of hard to tell who's going to be the last fifth in the rotation guy, so we'll only focus on the 4 that we're pretty confident are in. Kyle Freeland was one of the bottom in baseball in strikeout percentage last year. Austin Gomber was one of the lowest in strikeout percentage last year. So was Cal Quantrill, and so was Dakota Hudson. Now, it's important to realize here with Quantrill and Dakota Hudson, when you're comparing them to Gomber and Kyle Freeland, a fraction of the innings pitched for Cal Quantrill and Dakota Hudson. Cal Quantrill just under 100 innings pitched last year, and Dakota Hudson only 81 innings pitched last year. And that's a big step away from his 2022, where he pitched in 139.2 innings. The biggest concerns I have, and this is what everyone was saying about these guys, is when you look at the trends of Cal Quantrill and Dakota Hudson on there, and we're looking at Baseball Savant, by the way, if you're curious of where I'm pulling these stats from. Too much regression from both of these players, and especially from Dakota Hudson here. It is something that we're going to have to. I'm really curious how effective this ground ball percentage is going to be, because one of the best ground ball percentages in the league for Dakota Hudson. And remind you, this is what the Rockies believe in, at least right now. The philosophy of pitch to contact is very much in full effect this year. If the Rockies pitchers don't hit their spots, if the Rockies pitchers aren't able to induce the weak contact that they expect to be, the rotation will mightily struggle. It's a big risk when you're going back, when you're running 4 pitchers in a row, basically, all with some of the worst strikeout percentages, strikeout rates. Yeah, I think that's the best way to phrase it. Strikeout rate, K percentage, if you're looking at it on the stat sheet. When you're running 4 of them in a row, that's a big risk. And you're putting a lot of pressure on the defense. The defense is up to the challenge. I know that. I don't need spring training to boost my confidence in the defense of the Colorado Rockies. It's honestly one of the things on the lowest of my priorities. I care way more about the Rockies starters not going too crazy when it comes to defense in spring training and staying healthy. I'm talking about you, Mr. Second Baseman Brendan Rodgers. Than I am, as concerned as I am of this pitching staff. I'm really hoping works on stuff, really sees what is working in spring, what pitches are they having good control of and command over in order to get better. Because while I have sat here and said that it's not, these are fine moves, they're low risk, low impact moves. And I still sit here and say I'm a little bit more excited about the rotation this year, maybe with the context of last year in my mind. I think talking yesterday when we compared the lineups, I think overall you'd feel more confident if the Rockies were using their normal rotation of Herman, Senza, Freeland, Gomber, and then, from there, fill it in. But realistically, are the Rockies getting anything much different than Antonio Senzatella right now from these pitchers? I mean, unfortunately, with Senza not pitching for a while, it's hard to really compare with these players. But we know Senza's a prime value of what the Rockies are looking for. 54% ground ball rate for or ground ball percentage for Senzatella in his shortened season there. But Senza has now, let's see. Only 120 pitches thrown in 2023, 1,500 pitches thrown. Only 92 innings. We haven't seen a full Senza season in now 2 seasons. And the numbers, when you compare, let's go to 2022, because that's a number, a line that can compare with Quantrill and Hudson. Antonio Senzatella in 2022, 3-7, a 5.07 ERA in 19 games started, throws 92 innings, gets 54 strikeouts and a 1.69 whip. Let's compare that to last year for both of these guys, Quantrill and Dakota Hudson. 2023 for Dakota Hudson, 5.24 ERA in 19 starts, 99 innings pitched, 58 strikeouts and a whip of 1.46. I mean, that's basically exactly what we're getting from Senzatella there from Cal Quantrill. Dakota Hudson, 81 innings pitched last year, 6-3 record, 4.98 ERA, 45 strikeouts, and a whip of 150. High ground ball percentage there from both Quantrill. Quantrill, not so much, actually. Quantrill last year, 37%. So Cal Quantrill doesn't fall into the same, induce weak contact, not nearly as much as Kyle Freeland and Austin Gomber, who both are only in around average, and Kyle Freeland a below average when it comes to ground ball percentage. That, and so that is notable to remind yourself that, yeah, you might be down on all of Dakota Hudson's lines, but he's the one that's able to induce those ground balls better than anybody, at least when you're counting last year. So when I see Cal Quantrill and I see Dakota Hudson, I kind of am expecting Senzatella-like production, later Senzatella production. And that has concerns in of itself. This rotation, I don't think, is going to blow anybody away. I think this rotation will be one that isn't going to be one of the best in baseball. Unfortunately, it is most likely going to be a bottom tier rotation. However, there's stuff to sit there when you're comparing the teams, when you're looking for why are the Rockies going here? Is it going to be any different? There's some interesting stuff to point out there. However, the advanced metrics and the advanced stats are, paint a pretty bleak picture here for all the Rockies players. I mean, all the Rockies these starters are some of the worst when in the league when it comes to ERA, batting average, fastball velocity, chase percentage, whiff percentage. I mean, the Rockies don't get people to strike. I mean, this team is not going to strike out really anybody at this rate, and that's a massive concern. It's a really, really big problem that this rotation is going to struggle to strike batters out. It has to be a tool that one or two of these pitchers really starts to develop and becomes more successful. We know what basically we're going to be running the same type of thought process every game. Can the starting pitcher hit their spot? Can they avoid the walks? And can they actually induce the weak contact? Because again, these guys are really, really low. 13.9% strikeout rate for Kyle Freeland, bottom 2 in the league. Bottom 3% of the league for Austin Gomber at 14.4% strikeout rate last year. Bottom of the league for Cal Quantrill here in the league in strikeout percentage, 13.1%. Dakota Hudson, bottom of the league, 12.7%, one of the lowest strikeout rates in the league. That's a massive problem for the Rockies, and that is going to be something that is a huge issue for this rotation. Hopefully through spring, we see some strikeouts come to fruition, and this team becomes more of a strikeout threat, because that is going to be a big, big problem for this rotation, is the lack of strikeouts here. That when I'm looking for my biggest worrisome concern about the starting rotation, the lack of strikeouts is number one. All right, let's continue here. You guys need to get some updates on where you're going to be watching Rockies baseball. So let's talk about the new home for the Rockies, what that means for you all that good stuff. Okay, we're going to do that coming up in segment number 2, so don't go anywhere. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast, and we are brought to you by Gametime. I love Gametime. Gametime is a service that I use whenever I need to get my tickets. Really not only just last-second tickets, but tickets in general, because I love the way that Gametime works. Gametime has got you covered with last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and the best price guaranteed. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. I love that I get to see my seat before I buy. It's something that's incredibly important to me. As a last-second ticket consumer, if I'm going to spend the money, if I'm going to do this thing, I want to know where I'm going to sit and what that view looks like. And that is just one of the many great options from Gametime. You got zone deals that you can pick the section, and Gametime picks the seats for big time savings. There's lots more. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. That's locked on for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast, for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, brought to you by not only Gametime, but the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And speaking of the network, they've launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and it's now available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So go ahead and check that out there if you're interested in that. All right, so what's your big concerns for the Rockies rotation? What are you worried about with this Rockies rotation going into spring? I mean, again, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that the Rockies rotation is arguably the biggest area of concern for the team, followed by the offense. I would say this team needs to show more in terms of offense as well. But when you look at those advanced numbers, what can we hope? I mean, Kyle Freeland and Austin Gomber, the jury might be a little bit more out as they've been pitching for a few seasons now. Freeland's only pitched two more seasons than Cal, one more season than Dakota Hudson. So both of these, there should still be moments where these players can adapt, these players can grow. Kyle, Gomber, Quantrill, and Hudson, they're all 29 or 30. So there should still be time for an adjustment. There should still be time to work on something. There should still be time to increase velocity, work on strikeouts. What I circle back to with the pitching, and this season should be another example. I don't think the pitching coaching staff of the Rockies deserves any more extensions, any more leashes, any more this season. If you're part of Bud Black's staff at all, this needs to be a prove-it season for you as well. I still need to know why this Rockies pitching staff has regressed so much. I know that they haven't had the same players. I know John Gray has left. But they still have had a good chunk of those starters since the playoff runs, a good chunk of those starters that they believe in, extending Marquez, Senza, and Freeland. Marquez twice. What is the pitching staff what help are they getting? What coaching are they getting? What changes are the Rockies as a coaching staff doing to help the pitching staff? That's my biggest concern. Last year, new hitting coach, first year, that's different. The Scott Foster experiment has been going on for a while for the Rockies. And for the fact that he can continue to skate by while the Rockies starting rotation now holds, he cannot skate if the Rockies have four of the worst strikeout rate pitchers in baseball. Simply can't work. You can't have that. You cannot have your pitching staff be ranked at the bottom and multiple categories and multiple players ranked at the bottom without there needing to be a change. I think the hot seat is hotter for Scott Foster than any of the Rockies starters in general. Because I believe we saw Austin Gomber get into his groove and shove last year. We saw Austin Gomber take a step where the stat sheet won't show it. But if you didn't feel more confident in Austin Gomber as a pitcher last year after watching him and him going through that stretch where he was the only healthy pitcher, the only pitcher keeping the Rockies in games for a bit last year, then you missed out on that. That's a good development. But I have unfortunately not seen enough from this Rockies pitching staff, the coaching staff, for me to be really confident not only in their development and for these players to take the steps forward that they need to, but I'm worried about this next crop of starting pitchers to come up for the Rockies. I mean, some of the top prospects for the Rockies are starting pitchers. I still am not necessarily confident that this Rockies staff is going to make sure that Noah Davis, Peter Lambert, Ryan Feltner are coached up the proper way. My doubts with the Rockies pitching staff aren't just with the players. Really, my doubts with the pitching staff go much deeper than that. Going into this season and going in from the offseason to the end of last year, I really don't know how the Rockies as an organization don't look at their pitching philosophy, at their pitching coaching and say that there's a problem. Because there has been a problem. Rockies pitching, especially the ones that they believe in, have been regressing since the playoffs as they've been entering the quote unquote primes of their career. That's a massive problem. It's a huge, huge deal. The main issue, it isn't just, the Rockies aren't going out and signing the right guys. They're not going out and why aren't they spending big and getting a free agent pitcher? It's deeper than that. Not only do they have to deal with the fact that starting pitchers don't want to come here, but again, look at the trends. Look at what's happened to Rockies pitching. That's the biggest concern. And if this isn't a year where Scott Foster proves himself to you, proves his philosophy, proves his approach, he shouldn't be in charge of leading the rotation. He shouldn't be in charge of coaching the Rockies pitching. I just think that it is something that the Rockies have to consider. Steve Foster. I keep calling him Scott Foster. I keep messing it up. I had my Scotts and my Steves mixed up. But I just don't think that this guy. I keep getting. I was combining two people. I stopped doing my research. This is what I get. This is what I get for doing things. Steve Foster, Daryl Scott, all of the. I just gotta laugh at myself now. I just spent what 6 minutes roasting the wrong guy, combining two names. Oh boy. See, sometimes you just have to sit back and laugh and you know, and make yourself realize when you goof up. Daryl Scott is who I've been meaning to say, not Scott Foster. Scott Foster has not been the pitching coach for the Rockies since 2021. Daryl Scott now has been the coach for the Rockies now for the last 2 seasons, going into the third there. Oh boy, that's just how it goes sometimes. But my points stand. Even going back into Steve Foster into Daryl Scott. I mean, Steve Foster had the reins from 2015 to 2021. He was able to be successful with some of these guys as well. He was able to get good success from the Rockies pitching coach, from the Rockies pitching staff. And I mean, going up into 2021, what is that? Basically, I mean, the right when everything started turning around. I mean, it is just anyway, I'm completely thrown off by the fact that I messed that up. But I at its core, fundamentally, my biggest beef with the Rockies rotation is the coaching. I really do think that there is something to be said there. Since this transfer, since 2021, the Rockies pitching staff has not improved. It has declined and has not gotten better. And injuries play a key role in that. I mean, you know, that is one thing to keep in mind there. It is the fact that the Rockies, it's haven't been a healthy rotation in a bit, but I digress. All right, let's change this. Let's just put a bow on that. The rotation, the coaches, the pitchers, everyone's got a lot to prove this year when it comes to the Rockies pitching staff. But in case you missed it here, folks, the Rockies now have a new streaming home, Rockies.tv. That's going to get you all of the games. So here's the deal. If you want to just watch the Rockies this year at Rockies.tv, price is going to be $19.99 per month or $99 for the season. Of course, remember your taxes going to be there. The package of Rockies TV plus MLB TV, which would include Rockies game and all MLB games, is $39.99 per month or $199 for the season. And so this means basically the thing that I am curious about is how, if you just, because I have MLB TV, that's how I do everything as an out of market Rockies fan anyway. So I'm wondering what the difference is between doing a Rockies specific program versus MLB TV, because the price is different. MLB TV, $150, and the Rockies combo with the MLB TV access is $200. But I think the big difference in that $50 is the blackout restrictions. So that's important to remember. They are still working on a cable home for the Rockies. They are still trying to figure out a place to for them to be on TV, actual TV in Colorado. But I'm wondering if you're in Colorado, you need to do the Rockies specific program, which I would probably recommend doing, because I would imagine if you're trying to watch the Rockies in those areas that still that could be impacted by blackouts, I think the blackouts will only be lifted up if you are doing the MLB TV Rockies specific one, the $200 combo pack. or just do the Rock. If you're just trying to watch the Rockies, just doing that Rockies monthly there. I'll probably have to get confirmation on that, but $50 is kind of a big jump there, a big look there in terms of price. I mean, especially as you're considering. I do wonder what the impact will be. This is an interesting model for the Rockies now. I mean, how popular will the Rockies themselves be with this model? How much will they benefit from being part of this MLB team? We'll have to see. But there is a streaming home for the Rockies. It does remove the blackouts if you go that route. I think, though, like I said, I'm in that weird pickle where it's like, do I need to spend the extra 50? But I'm not in an area. I think that there's only 2 games that might get blacked out for me this year with the Mariners series. So not quite sure, but yes, you do have a streaming home for the Colorado Rockies. It will be brought to you by Major League Baseball, and I believe everybody from the broadcast team is coming back except for Jenny Kavnar. We're going to talk a little bit more about Jenny in the third segment here as we wind things down. But I think you're also going to be able to get some spring training games through that Rockies package as well. So it is Rockies.tv. And I'm reading here from the Denver Post to see what that means here. MLB will also remove blackouts for fans, and this is from Patrick Saunders, Denver Post, meaning that for the first time, fans in the Rockies' traditional TV territory will be able to live stream all of the club's games. As for the ability to watch games on TV via traditional cable channel, a Rockies spokesperson said that details regarding that plan will be announced in the future. Prices for Rockies TV are as followed. To stream Rockies game only, the price will be $19.99 per month or $99.99 for TV. Yeah, we already said all that. Okay. All right. So yeah, there you go. Games on Rockies TV will include live 15-minute pregame and postgame shows. So you'll get a little pregame, little postgame, but you're not going to get nearly as much Rockies-focused content as you did there before the break. All right, let's take a quick break and send our congratulations to Jenny Kavnar to close out the show here. All coming up on Locked On Rockies. Hey, we are brought to you by FanDuel, and FanDuel's got you covered all basketball season long as you're looking ahead to March as the NBA season marches on as well. You can get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Yes, $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams like, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and the Denver Nuggets. There's quick bets. There's my favorite, the live same game parlays. Or if you are looking to have some fun, they got exclusive props, all on a super easy to use app that's available right on the phone there. Lots to see, lots to do, lots to check out at FanDuel. And if you're looking for that $150 in bonus bets, just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel.com/lockedon for that $150 in bonus bet offer with the winning $5 bet. Of course, FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Folks, Locked On Rockies here, winding down in our third segment. And one change coming to the Rockies broadcast booth is Jenny Kavnar moving on from the Rockies. And man, this is just a great story. This is a cool story. This is important, cool stuff. I mean, Jenny worked for 12 years with the organization, worked her way up, got the opportunities, got a chance to be in the booth, and now is making history as the first primary female play-by-play announcer in baseball for the Oakland Athletics. This is a really, really cool story, and it continues to show the growth of women in the industry and how important it is to continue to open up these opportunities and for people like Jenny to get their shot. And Jenny earns it. 12 years in the business, getting opportunities to call games, working on radio, working in post-game, working in pre-game, doing prep. I believe she was pregnant at a time doing all of this as well. The hard work has paid off, and this is an awesome opportunity. Yes, the A's are in a weird situation too, but it doesn't really matter. When this opportunity presents itself, you got to go for it. And I'm really, really happy to see that Jenny is going to go out and be able to not only, share her voice, but continue to set an example for women and girls in that love baseball. She is one of many women that are continuing to set the table for it to be a place that women can be involved in, and on the field, off the field, behind the scenes, in the booth. This stuff matters. It really, really does. And it's really cool that the Rockies were a team that had embraced this. And I hope the Rockies continue to embrace this as they're going through this new venture, as they're figuring things out. I hope they continue to be a team where people get to have opportunities, people get to have chances. It's really, I mean, I know a lot of people bring in former players. It's kind of the thing, but it's been really cool to see Spilly grow. It's been really cool to see the Rockies use their broadcast booth as a place to really help a lot of people grow when it comes to baseball commentary. I think that's a really, really cool thing. As someone that works in a media space, it's very hard to get those jobs, to get a play-by-play job, a primary play-by-play job. That is very, very difficult to do. And I mean, I'm just glad that the Rockies got to play a role in helping this happen, and helping build up a talented broadcaster that's now going to go out to Oakland and share her talents there, which is really cool. I just think this is a cool storyline, and I just wanted to give props to Jenny, who has worked really hard and has been a part of Rockies broadcast now for 12 years. The Rockies been a part of the Rockies for 12 years now. That is no small feat. Best of luck in Oakland, Jenny. We are rooting for you here. We really, really do appreciate all of your hard work and dedication to the purple pinstripes as well. Folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for joining us and tuning in today. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, and you can find us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. And forgive me for my flubbing today. I know that I got my pitching coaches crossed, and I got my pitching coaches crossed with an NBA official. Oh, geez. One of those days. Almost the weekend. We'll be back in action tomorrow right here on Locked On Rockies. Don't miss it. Find us on the YouTube channel. For your second listen, go check out Locked On MLB. And you also got Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Buffs, Locked On Nuggets, if you need more Colorado sports coverage here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Podcast, or from the Locked On Rockies podcast. Ugh, what a weird day.